The title of our research project is Dark versus Light, Effects of Human Activity on Wildlife at Wildwood Park. I'm Sandrea Perry, and my fellow researchers are Hannah Johnson, Kaya Jassims, and Sarah Ibrahim.
This is Sarah taking over to tell you why this is important. The information is helpful for people who visit the park and also to inform the rangers of what animals are more active during the day versus during the night, and shows how the wildlife is affected through the day and the night. The top picture shows a group of people on the trail of the Wildwood Park, and for the bottom picture, it shows a white-tailed deer on the trail of Wildwood Park.
For some background information on Wildwood Park, it's located in Radford, Virginia. It has very beautiful hiking and walking trails. It's about 50 to 55 acres, and it's home to a wide variety of wildlife. To give you an example of the difference between a picture taken at night and during the day, the bottom left picture is a deer at night, and the top right picture is a deer during the day. And then the bottom right picture is just a group of humans walking their dogs on one of the trails.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and I'll be telling you about our hypothesis. We predicted that the presence of wildlife activity will increase when human activity decreases. We will be looking at this both during the day and during the night. On the bottom left picture, you will see a red-tailed fox at 8:23 a.m. And on the bottom right, you will see a group of humans walking their dog at 1:24 p.m.
Hi, I'm Kaija, and I will be telling you about the methods. To do this research, we went to the Wildwood Park to set up Stilt and Simmons cameras along the trails to get pictures of any wildlife that walked by. The cameras were deployed at a chosen spot for 33 days, and there was a lot of wildlife spotted. For example, we saw white-tailed deer, birds, red fox, and eastern gray squirrels. Also, lots of humans and dogs were seen. Researchers then went through each SD card and recorded the data on an Excel spreadsheet on what was seen. Some of the things we recorded were the date and time, if it was day or night, the type of species, the number of wildlife, if there was young wildlife, and the number of dogs and humans. And in the picture, there is a fellow researcher deploying a camera.
In this graph, it shows the relationship between the percentage of what species were active during the day and the percentage of what species were active during the night. The data shows us that birds were active during the day versus wild turkey being active only at night. And white-tailed deer is a mixture of both being active during the day and at night.
This graph shows the number of humans active in the day versus night. Our data shows that humans are significantly more active during the day versus the night. And then the pictures, the first and the last one are people in the day, and the one in the middle is someone at night.
This graph shows the relationship between the wildlife species and the hours between the day and the night. The x-axis represent the time of the day and the night by hour, and the y-axis represent the sum of the wildlife species. Each wildlife species is represented by a different color on this graph.
Key points on this graph is that the white-tailed deer are seen throughout the entire day, but are seen to be had higher activity between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Also, the eastern gray squirrel is seen between the same time frame, between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. But unlike the white-tailed deer, the eastern gray squirrel is not seen between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. This graph is similar to the last graph, but this data shows the sum of wildlife and domestic species in relation to human activity over a 24-hour time frame. The x-axis is represented by hours, and the y-axis is the sum of wildlife and domestic species. The wildlife and domestic species are represented by different colors on this graph. As you can see, the human activity starts between 6 a.m. and ends roughly around 8 p.m. As human activity peaks at roughly 5 p.m., you can see that white-tailed deer dramatically decrease compared to earlier hours in the day. Wildlife species that completely avoided human activity were species such as the red fox, possum, and striped skunk.
Overall, our hypothesis was correct, excluding eastern gray squirrel, which seemed as if human activity did not affect its activity, whether it was day or night.
When human activity increased or peaked, you could see that white-tailed deer decreased, thus showing that human activity can and will influence wildlife activity.
When humans were active, there was a couple of animals that were not present. For example, foxes, raccoons, and a possum. And we also have here the top picture is a 2 white-tailed deers, and for the bottom picture is an eastern gray squirrel.
And that concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you.